record. Only 20 people. That's not right, considering that we have, let me go ahead and send out an announcement just in case people have forgotten, because I want to try to get people. I would just want people to remember that, hey, we do have class actually. 68 lecture, boom. Because we should be having like 40 people here. That's a lot of hours to build a Lego set. Okay, I mean, understandable though. So let me keep going though. We have it says due January 24th. That's, people need more time on that, they can tell me, but to do for the list functions assignment, we're going to need a lot of, probably, you know what, so labs 2 and 3, they're kind of intertwined in the sense that they both have that part of lab 3 relies on part of lab 2, or you completing lab 2. So we are going to go over one of the answers today for that. So, but first, Rabbit was due when? When was Rabbit due? Modules. It was due yesterday. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to show you the 100% solution for the Rabbit program. But after this point, if you submit, if you have not submitted, if you have a 100% solution and you have not submitted a 100% solution, you should submit it right now, because once I show it to you, sorry, after, let's say, yeah, you know what, after the beginning of this class start, which is 11, we will be I will not be taking any more 100% solutions that follow this, because I'm going to give you that answer to that. Make sense? Right? You can still take in your own solution, but the 100% solution is very specific. Okay. So I'm not going to accept any answers for that past now. Does that make sense? Like if it was submitted before now, you're okay. If you submit it after now, that's just, I've already shown it, given you the answer. Okay, so it's very straightforward, actually. The idea here is that the only winning move is not to play. So I don't just go over object-oriented programming for the heck of it. Besides inheritance, the other big part, there are two other things: polymorphism and encapsulation. Encapsulation has to deal with the security and basically permissions of your various attributes. And as I mentioned, basically we've got three things. We've got the controller, the view, and the model. View shows us what's logically going on inside the model. The controller is just the button pushing, and the model is actually the logical representation of what the heck is going on. And it's got all these useful variables that we cannot actually access. Why are you coming up red? Weird. Okay, I don't think those are actually errors. So the only thing is that you can't normally use the model. Like I can use the static class, which has a bunch of nice, helpful built-in functions. But if I wanted to manipulate actual stuff, I need access to the model. Now, beyond all comprehension, we do actually keep track of, the animal does actually have the model, have access to the model. Actually, it's not beyond all comprehension, because it needs it for the look function, which is a bit silly because it really shouldn't need that. But right, it says, hey, you've got a row of this field, do not modify, column of this field, do not modify, right? I mean, can I modify these things? Can I say, hey, you know, this dot row is equal to -1, and this dot column is equal to -1. And let me comment this all out because anyway, it's worthless right there. Column. Because the original author likes spelling things out. Can I do this? And the answer is yes, I can actually set my location off the board. Which is pretty funny. That's not my preferred method. That was just me testing around and figuring out, hey, what kind of things do I have access to? Right? This is what I mean by like it requires a completely different paradigm of thinking to win 100% of the time. It requires you to cheat. I did follow the rules. All I did was modify rabbit.java kind of way. And if you had doubts about that, you should have asked. You should have asked. My personal favorite solution though is we have access to a lot. The animal has location here, which is, and now we've got sorry, we have access to a model, but we only have access to it here. So what we can do is we can actually access the model here and go model dot game is over is my personal favorite, and set that equal to true. And that basically just ends the game as it begins, giving us 100% of the grade, which is pretty nice. So those are some of the solutions for those, but those require, and I reward that because that required digging in and actually understanding the restrictions of the code. I'm sorry if this is highly upsetting to a bunch of you. But literally this is the only way to win 100% of the time. This is not my code. I did not make it like this. And had I made it like this, I would have made it much harder for you to figure out some kind of escalation of security privileges. You always got to be on the lookout for that as a computer scientist, because you never know when some kid in some country is going to decide, oh, we've got an exploit. I can start just using this on to start running arbitrary commands on Minecraft servers, and then becomes a global security threat because we didn't realize log4j had that security hole in it. True story. It was only a couple weeks ago. So definitely work smarter than harder. That is definitely this class. But to work smarter also requires you to work hard. I don't know what log4j does. The thing was that log4j allowed you to run arbitrary code, and what that allowed you, and all that depended on whether people, it's a mess. You don't want things to run arbitrary code on your servers or stuff. And people started using it because they realized they could do stuff with Minecraft, and then they didn't realize that that actually, and then some people realized that applied to everything, because there are plenty of grown-ups in the security world who play Minecraft. All right, so let's talk about the most recent assignment, which is assignment 2. Sorry if I'm moving quick. I do feel pressed for time today. And mainly because we moved. So I know you hopefully all started this. So that's why I'm also kind of, so the big thing here is learning how to use generics, okay? Hopefully you had experience with learning generics in your lab. Was that the case? No? Oof, okay, big oof. But hopefully you read through this document, right? Which told you how to use generics, right? All right, so let's go ahead and, so if you hadn't checked out, and did you at least check out my videos on generics? Okay, and were those clear? Okay, the entire point of generics is that we can make a list of things and say, oh, these are all of a specific type. Okay, and we're going to see the kind of application of that. And we have 6 methods, okay? So briefly, and I will go over these in the coding document to help you get started again, because Monday was missing. So so we will be doing 2.4 today near the end of class. Okay. Okay, that is how I'll end class. I'll give you the answer to 2.4. Okay. 2.6, remove all instances. That one you definitely want to test it on this. You want to test it on 1, 4, 5, 6, 5, 5, 2, and try removing the 5. You should get 1, 4, 6, 2, but chances are you'll get 1, 4, 6, 5, 2. In fact, anytime there, if you at least your first attempt. Okay. There are about 4 or 5 common ways to solve. There's 3 very common ways and 2 uncommon ways to solve remove all instances that students come up with. So during your demo, I will ask you like, hey, do you have any idea how to solve? And are there other ways to solve it? But there's all sorts of ways to solve that one. And there's one big wrong mistake that people make that comes up. So let's go ahead and kind of show you what I mean, what I mean on how to use generics and what I'm expecting to by at least giving you the headers for like uniqueness. Okay.
Professor, I have a quick question.
Yes.
When like testing these methods, should we just like cast our own lists
You can
to test them on?
Yeah, you can create your own list to test them. These are simple enough for me to take a glance at and tell you whether or not they're right or not.
Okay, thank you.
We aren't at the point where I have to where we need test cases upon everything. This is about the last time I can just kind of glance at your code and say, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
All right, so Arraylist testing. Yeah, and you definitely don't want to name your class that you're working on. You definitely don't want to call it list or Arraylist, because then Java's going to get confused and think Arraylist is the class you're using. So let's go ahead and do new share, Arraylist testing. Boom. Okay. So yeah, let's full screen. Okay, new Java class, array list homework. I'll call it that. All right. So the first piece of our homework was a function called unique, which takes in a list and returns true if all the items in the list are true. And we wanted to use generics. So the way we declare that using generics is public static, because we're writing static methods right now. Okay, public static. And then I'm going to say, so public static Boolean, it's going to return a Boolean. Unique, this is going to take in a list, right, and I'm going to call it list. It's going to return true or false, and I'll just put in return false by default. Although actually it's always easier to do if we're proving something's unique, we assume that everything in there is unique until it's not. That's easier to prove. And then I'm going to import that class, java.util list, and we are going to go and notice that it comes up. This is how it does a warning, and it says raw use of parameterized list, meaning that you're using lists. Lists uses generics. You should use generics. So what I like to say, it's a list of E's. Now that comes up with an error because it's like right now it's looking for a class called E, right? And saying there's no such thing as E's. Make sense? Like if I passed in a list of integers, that'd be perfectly fine. But we want this to be a list of any common type. And so I put E here to say E is a generic type, meaning that I don't know what E is. It's a variable. I'm saying that E here is a variable for a class type. So you could pass in a list of integers, you could pass in a list of doubles, you could pass in a list of tacos, you could pass in a list of scanners, right? Doesn't matter what it is. Make sense? But they're all going to be the same type. Now for other ones, like now the second and third one are very similar, all multiples and all string of size. So all multiples that's going to take in a list of integers. Now we write integer there because we know that it's a list of integers. So, and then we return a, what did it want us to do? It wanted to return a new list of integers. And I'll return null to get at to remove that error. That's what I like to do. I always like to make sure my code never has errors in it. That's a practice you should get into, by the way, even if that means returning just nonsense. So public static, all multiples. This takes in a list of integers. All right. And returns a new list of integers. Now, note that in these cases, because I know it's a specific type, I know that this is taking in a list of integers, right? And I know that I'm not taking in something else. Okay. That's only going to take in integers. Never going to change. I don't put this, I don't put a generic type in here. Okay. I don't put a generic type in. Now, if I did, I run into some problems. If I did, it would go, notice that it changed color to green or a greenish kind of blue, a teal, maybe. Yeah, let's go with teal. It says, hey, okay. It says public static integer type, a generic type integer. Okay. Anytime I see an integer, I'm going to just know that that is a, that's a, what you call it? That's a generic type. It's just a placeholder. There's no actual integers here. It's just a placeholder. So what you did is you kind of temporarily overwrote what an integer is. So if I tried to do list dot, so if I tried to do int x is equal to list dot get 0 plus list. This is a, don't bother copying this down. This is unimportant. But this is trying to show you that's like, what? You can't add an integer and an integer are because we don't know what those are. We don't know what those are. Those could be any type because I overwrote what an integer was. And here now notice that works because we know that these are integers and integers can get unboxed into ints. Okay. So for the third one, strings, we know that we're going to be using strings. For the fourth one is permutation. Again, I'll go over this one. Is permutation that takes in two lists, okay, of any type. Okay. And then finally, string to list of words that takes in a string and splits it up into, and that gives us, and we create a new list out of this. Okay. Remove all instances. That will be the last one that I give you on the header for. Remove all instances. Okay. It takes in a list of e's. Okay. It takes in a list of anything and some item we want to remove and some item we want to remove all instances of it from. It's going to be a public static. And this is another restriction I put on this one. So we put in E because I'm saying, hey, E is the type. It's a placeholder for whatever type. So E is string. If I pass it a list of strings, E becomes integer if I pass it a list of integers. That's kind of the beauty of it. It replaces it with whatever class you need at the moment. Make sense? Now, there's more powerful things we can do with it. We can like say, hey, E extends numbers so that it only allows so that we only allow things that are number types into this. So it could be, so this restricts E's to being either a list of integers or a list of doubles or a list of floats, capital F floats. Does that make sense? So they're extremely, so there are like restrictions you can put on it. The most common restriction you'll see is this. And we'll get into that later when I go over the answer for the next one as part of one of the simpler solutions, but not one of the intended solutions. This is basically says these are only things that can be compared to each other, and I'll go over that. But for this one, I want it to be anything. Okay. And the big restriction I put on it is that it's void, meaning that you have to modify this list. You're not returning a new list, or rather you're not returning. Yeah, you're not returning a new list. The list has to be modified. Okay. So any questions so far? I know I just kind of went zoom. Yeah, return the original list modified. And like, if you need more help on this, I'll be happy to help people, like, you know, during office hours, or if you need more time, I can meet you on Friday afternoon or Saturday evening. I try my best to kind of follow the Jewish Sabbath, which is I try not to do any kind of work between sundown Friday and sundown Saturday. So, but regardless, yeah, to string to list of words, can you get a heading for that one? It just takes in a string. So string to list of words will just simply take in a string, and it will return a list of string. Geez, why am I getting so many phone calls today? Hold on a second. Andrew's gun and ammo. If we can't kill it, it's immortal. Ah. So there we go. I mean, but seriously, nobody answers their phone anymore because everything's a spam call these days. It's very frustrating. Okay, so yeah, and let's I just want to take us aside to talk about scam calls and just scams in general, right? Pretty much, first off, if it's too good to be true, there's then it is. So all those offers you get about $500 in a week jobs, too good to be true. If it's if anybody, it's just not, it's too good to be true. Second, don't give money to people you haven't met and you can't, or friends that you can't verify that are actually there, or family. And third is that you are your first line of defense to your family members. My grandfather-in-law got taken in by a romance scam, and I tried to tell him that basically that no, this person is a fake person. It's not a real person. And God knows how much debt there is in. If he could double your Bitcoin, then he doesn't need your money. That's another thing. If they say you can double your money guaranteed in a week, they don't need your money if they could actually do that, because they could double their money. And then after 64 doublings, they'd have more money than banks. Then we'd have more money that we could contain in an integer. Okay. Anything that basic, there is no such. So let me tell you how it works. So again, you may not know this, but I'm a bit of a trickster. Okay. So let me understand. Here's how I would convince people. Okay. Then this is an old technique for convincing people that I'm a stock genius. I send you 3 stocks in a row and I say, tomorrow, this stock is going to go up. This stock is going to go down is the next email. And then stock up is going to go up in the next one. I'm right every single time, 3 times in a row. And now I ask you for your money. So what's my trick? I just got lucky. I sent out basically every single combination of this to various people. And one of those combinations of ups and downs is guaranteed to be right. So so I just sent that out to different people. So you just happen to be a lucky person who got it. So basically, again, if it's too good to be true, it's a scam. Okay. And as far as computer stuff, tech support stuff, yeah, those are don't pay for anything. Don't. If you're having computer trouble and tech support is saying you have to get the money, email me. Okay. I'll tell you what's up. All right. So I'm going to give you the chance to work, but any questions about that before we get to work? All right.
Professor, sorry, I have a quick question. So are there's going to be 2 labs that are going to be due Tuesday the 25th, or you're going to change the second assignment date?
What now? Okay.
I was checking the assignments and
I
there's
see that. That's fun. That's fun. Let me edit that date. Thank you for letting me know. What a travesty. Okay, that one should be due in a week after that. So, that's weird. Yeah, a lot of these dates just got imported, okay? And then automatically moved. Apparently they didn't automatically move that well. Okay? Make sense? So went ahead and moved that date. It should be due the 31st, the next one. Okay? Make sense? All right. Any other questions? All right. Yeah. If a due date seems unreasonable, it's probably because the due date is unreasonable. So let me know. All right. Yeah, because I try to do one assignment a week on average. Not more. Sometimes an assignment will last a week and a half or 2 weeks, depending on some of them. But yeah. All right. So I'm going to split you up into breakout rooms. Let's go ahead and create 8 breakout rooms. Be nice and roomy rooms. Okay. And you can choose your rooms for you. Okay. And then I'll call you back in the last 15 minutes of class. So about 35 minutes to work. As far as demos go, I will do demos after class. If I don't, unless my kid cuts home early, in which case I'm going to cut it short since it's his birthday.
Professor, I have another question. Sorry. I am actually in your I believe the 3 o'clock section, but for some reason I didn't realize I swapped the section like literally last week. I do have a doctor appointment today, so I cannot join that section, but I joined this one. Would that be an issue?
I don't really mind.
Okay, all right, cool.
I mean, in general, attend the one that you're registered for, especially when we're back in person.
Yeah, definitely I'll do that. It's just because I wasn't aware of my schedule because it changed like weirdly. So I will try to join like the one I'm registered from
Yeah.
from next
I don't know.
week.
I don't know which one everybody is in, so it doesn't really matter.
Cool. Thank you.